Welcome to the Childcare Director's Chair, the podcast for bold educators who are ready to lead, grow, and shake things up in early childhood education. Whether you are a teacher eyeing that lead role, a lead stepping into leadership, or a center owner dreaming big, this is your space to grow with purpose and leave your mark. Hosted by heart-centered leadership coach Erica Saccoccio, each episode brings you real talk, actionable tools, and a contagious laugh or two, all designed to help you step into your next level with confidence. So pour your coffee, pop in those earbuds, and take your seat, because your leadership journey starts right now in the Childcare Director's Chair.
Hey guys, it's your girl, Erica Saccoccio here on the Childcare Director's Chair podcast, and we are still in beautiful Miami. Unfortunately, I have to go home tomorrow, but it's all good today. So we just finished up at the amazing CBG Live event, and we had such a great time, and I got an opportunity to connect with Tym the Trainer, and he was so gracious. I grabbed him in the hallway and said, "Hey, you want to record today?" And he said, "Sure." So we are going to be joined by Tym, and we're going to talk a little bit about leadership, and he's going to share 8 tips to grow in your role. Okay, Tym, so let's start at the beginning. What does becoming a director really mean in today's childcare landscape?
Becoming a director today means that you are a glutton for punishment and you're ready to... No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. A director today means that you are passionate about making a difference in the lives of children, the lives of family, the community that you work in. It's knowing that you are ready for this challenge, that you are ready to take on whatever is thrown at you for that day. And just knowing that you're never going to have the same day twice.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. There's so much of, today's world is about making a difference and, just being a staple in the community. And that's what being a director is all about. It's just putting yourself out there, growing your people, transferring belief, and doing the right thing.
Yeah. So the folks who don't know you, tell us a little bit about your history, because you have quite a bit of knowledge. So tell folks a little bit about your history.
Oh, my history. So I am celebrating my 38th year working in early education. So way back in the beginning, I worked at McDonald's while I was in high school, and the person that does the birthday parties called in sick, and there were like 8 birthday parties that day. And my manager said, "Hey, Tym, we think you would be really good at doing the birthday parties." And I was like, "Heck no, I don't like kids. I don't want to do birthday parties." And they were like, "Come on, just do it. We're in a pinch, So I did it, and I had a lot of fun, and I was really good at it and made a lot of connections, just genuine. I didn't even have to try to make connections with the kids. And it was a lot of fun. So after I got done, I was like, okay, anytime you need someone to do birthday parties, I'll do it, Well, I went to school that next Monday and just happened to tell my home economics teacher that, what had happened at work on Saturday. And she said, "Well, you know what? We have a class that you can take for early child development, and 2 periods a day, you can go off campus and volunteer at an elementary school and be a student teacher." And seriously, all I heard was 2 periods a day off campus. That's all I heard. So I was like, sign me up, And then the rest was history. I was planning to go to school for pre-med and change my major to early child development. Got a job almost right away at an after-school program. And yeah, here we are.
After school. That's where I started too. I love after school. It's a gateway. It's a gateway place.
It really is. And I was just an overgrown child myself,
yeah.
And always have been. And so After school programs hold a very, very special place in my heart. Even, the schools that I managed and operated, the schools that I owned, we've always had very, very large after school programs and very unique in themselves. When I look at staffing a program, for an infant toddler classroom, you need someone that's a nurturer. For a preschool, pre-K classroom, you need a teacher. But in an after-school program, they just need a role model. They need someone that they can look up to, someone that they feel safe with in a relaxed, stress-free environment. They have a teacher all day when they're at school. They have a parent when they go home at night and on the weekends. When they're with us, they just need a person.
Yeah. You know what I loved about after school? I thought that it was cool that the kids could pick the interest, but the teachers could pick their interest too, right? Sometimes it's like an art person and a gym person, and so you could do the thing you really, really loved. I was passionate about literacy and cooking together. So any book that had anything to do about food was so fun, and I would do a cooking club with literacy. I know, strange combo, but it works. It works. So fry guide to birthday guy to after school guy. And then you just turned to corporate? How does that work?
So after I graduated school, I became a pre-K teacher, and I taught pre-K for many years, loved it, thought I was going to die in a pre-K classroom. I taught kindergarten for a hot second, didn't really like that. Didn't like the kindergarten process. So went back to pre-K, eventually moved into administration, got a job as a director. I was a director for a very large program. We were NACE accredited. I had a waiting list a mile long, had long-term staff. Was a director for quite a while. Was promoted to a district manager where I supervised up to 14 sites. Started training and coaching, and then decided in 2006 to leave my job as a district manager and just start training and coaching full time. Took a chance. I had an 8 and 9-year-old at home. It was a big gamble, but it was something I was really passionate about. Started saving my money, and in 2010, I purchased my first school.
Nice.
And we grew from one facility to ended up with 9 programs on 6 campuses. So
you know a thing or two about being a director.
Yes.
So when you think back, what would be, if you could go back in time, what would you tell yourself, like what you wish you knew when you first started?
Take it slow.
Okay.
Don't try to conquer the world in one day. All right. Appreciate and celebrate every single day and every single person. I teach a 5-day director credential course in Texas. I've been teaching that class for about 18 years now. And this is definitely a piece of advice that I give to every single brand new director and brand new owner that, comes into my class. It's, celebrate every single day. You don't have to come in, like a bull in a china shop and change everything all at once. Establish yourself, find your integrity, and find your confidence. One of my favorite things about working with new directors is that moment, and it's usually about 2 to 3 years into their experience as a director. But it's that moment where someone finds their confidence, and it's a magical thing to experience. And like, once you find that confidence, I got this.
Yeah.
It's like the sky is the limit.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of my favorite things about coaching and training brand new directors is helping them find that confidence, because, we are our own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And especially being a director of a licensed early education program, we doubt ourselves a lot.
Yeah.
And
we get questioned a lot.
And believe in yourself. And, something that I think is more powerful than belief is knowing.
Yeah.
Knowing that you were meant to do this. You're supposed to be working in early education. You got here when you were exactly supposed to get here. right? And it's a calling. And just knowing this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. For you, when you think back, were there specific moments or people or habits that planted that seed? Like, when did you know?
So my very first director job that I had, where I was a full-time director, I was at a school in East Dallas. About 90% of my children were subsidized. The families were all at-risk families. I was just telling someone last night the story, and this is a 100% true story. I'll give you the address and you can Google map it. My school sat here. I had a liquor store on this side of me, a liquor store on this side of me, and a strip club across the street. And a lot of my families worked across the street. All right. But, I had Child Protective Services in my school at least weekly.
Yep.
It was hard, and I was young, and I was a man in the industry, and it was hard. I used to have 3-year-old children that would put chicken nuggets in their pockets at lunchtime, and I would ask them, I'm like, hey, what's up? Why you put a chicken nugget in your pocket? What's going on? These 3-year-old children were smart enough to know they weren't getting enough to eat at home, and they were taking food out of the school.
Yeah.
Or I would have a child tell me, when I get home, my brother's hungry because he hasn't had anything to eat all day. And it was that moment, where I realized every single child deserves quality care and education.
Yeah.
It's not the child's fault that they're in that situation. And what I really learned, it's not the family's fault either.
Yeah.
Mom, dad, guardian, grandma, grandpa, whoever has custody of that child, they're doing the best they can with what they've got. And so it's not about being an advocate for the child. It's about being an advocate for the entire family. But every child deserves quality care and education. And that center, while it was still to this date, the hardest school I've ever worked at, it was one of the most beneficial.
I bet.
And I would not be sitting here today doing what I do today if it wasn't for my experience at that school.
Yeah. You had said, being a man in the field. So I know several men in the field. We're very lucky. We have 4 or 5 gentlemen that work for us. Can you just talk about that for a minute for the men who are listening to our podcast? Like, hey, Trevor, lots of guys listen to our show, but can you talk maybe for the new person who might not quite be a director yet, or might not even, maybe they're in school age and they want to make that transition to pre-K?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. Maybe give them some words.
The more successful you become, the more critics you will have. And that's just part of life. Whether you're male, female, that's just life. As you continue to move up the ladder and you continue to grow, you're always going to have more critics. Know what you know, follow your passion, and don't listen to the outside voices. If you have a family that comes in and they see that, it's a male director, it's a male teacher, and they say, well, I don't want my child in that classroom or whatever, then don't accept them.
Yeah.
It's don't even play that game.
Yeah.
And that's their story that they're dealing with. You just don't put yourself out there like that. You do what you know you're supposed to do. Okay. And I do believe in, covering your assets.
Yep.
All right. You got to protect yourself, CYA, because people will throw you under the bus in a heartbeat. So you do have to be careful, but don't let that stop you from doing what you know you're meant to do.
Yeah.
All right. And if someone has a problem with your passion, that's their problem. It's not yours.
Yeah. That's great advice. What's one big tip that you could give about leading from where you are for the folks maybe who want directorship?
Yeah. Leading, well, you got to meet people where they're at. All right. But that includes where you're at. All right. And our leadership style is always going to be based on what's going on in your life at this moment. Okay. So when we talk about being grounded, you have to be grounded yourself. All right. Now, the great thing about what we do in early education is what we offer to others, we strengthen within ourselves.
Mm.
All right. So, always put yourself in that leadership position, leader first, employee second. All right. You have to be composed, self-regulated, confident. All right. Before you can expect any of those things from your people.
Yeah.
Leadership is nothing but a transfer of belief. It's about you getting your people to believe in your program just as much as you.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking about finding yourself and where you're at and where you're at in space, you've got to believe in something before you can transfer that. You can't lend what you don't have. So find your values. Always remember your why you do what you do. And don't stay away from that. Stray away from it. Can't talk all of a sudden.
You're fine. You're fine. This is very non-scripted, guys. They know. My listeners know about this show. So let's talk about. You do trainings, right? So let's talk about the realization that usually the best teacher in the school gets promoted to be a director and has zero skills on how to be a director.
Right.
Okay, right? Me included. I didn't know what I was doing when I first started. What's the best way to prepare themselves? Like, because running a classroom is different than running a lot of similarities, bigger scale, right? And more people to please and more questions to answer. But how can we help people with that transition?
Well, I'm going to start with ambitions and goals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it your desire? Is it your belief to be in a leadership role? Or are you meant to stay in a classroom? And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many people I've worked with in 38 years that were amazing in the classroom, and that's exactly where they were supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
People that were the best assistant directors you've ever worked with, but they were fine in that role. They had no desire to be a director. So don't push yourself into something that is not your passion.
Yeah.
All right. But I forgot what the question was.
The question was for folks that want that position, right? And want to move forward, but they're a teacher and they don't have the skill set around finance or those things.
I remember now. I've been doing a lot of training and mentoring on coaching here lately. And the reason why is, over the last 5 years, we've been doing a lot of online trainings, a lot of virtual, Zoom, all that stuff. Why didn't we buy stock in Zoom in 2019, right? We would all be so wealthy. But, it's like squeezing the toothpaste out of the tube. Once you squeeze it out, you can't put it back in. And that's what virtual training has become. Well, if you're still allowing your people to do training online, you have got to supplement that with coaching. The practice piece has to be there. And my coaching model is you tell them the expectation, you show them the expectation, and then you practice with them. Now, with that being said, and this kind of goes to your question right here with the training and the mentoring, no one says you have to be perfect. To be a leader, to be a mentor, to be a coach, you don't have to be perfect at it. All right. You don't have to be the master of the skill. All right. You get in there and you do the best you can with what you've got and be vulnerable to where, oops, if something doesn't work, we'll practice another skill. And you practice together with your team and you learn as you go along. So many times when I have new directors and new owners come to me, they feel like they have to be perfect at this stuff. And you don't, because here's the reality. None of us are perfect.
Well, I mean, you're certainly not going to be perfect out the gate.
No.
I mean, that's a really unrealistic expectation.
But isn't that today's world that we live in?
Yeah.
Like you've got to be perfect out of the gate. And, I just came from a conference where I had a booth and we had a game that was like an early educator assessment. And we had like a leaderboard, you take it until you get 3 incorrect answers or whatever. But the questions were, what is the best choice? Which of the following is the best choice in this scenario? It wasn't really about being right or wrong. We had a participant like literally melt down because she got one question, quote unquote, wrong.
Jeez.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, let it go. Number one, there's 1,000 different ways that you can answer a question based on the scenario, the child, the situation. It's which of the following is the best. But she literally, for 3 days, wouldn't let it go because she got a question wrong. And I'm like, there's nothing that says you have to be perfect at something.
Yeah.
as long as you're giving it your best.
Yeah.
And you're doing it with integrity and you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Life is about learning, and mistakes are opportunities to learn. And if you're going to fail forward.
Yeah. And I think to piggyback on that too, especially those new directors, we know you're going to fail. You're going to fail, and be accountable. Like, be transparent with your team. Like, oh, I messed that up. Don't try to act like you're perfect, because then you lose trust for sure.
Absolutely.
Right. And then they'll also be, if that's how you act when you make a mistake, how will you act when they make a mistake? And so they'll be afraid to try new things. Mm-hmm. And then you get no growth from your people either. So
I'm all about, one of my golden rules is to be authentic.
Yeah.
You got to be authentic. Mm-hmm. And that means that we make mistakes.
Yeah.
Daily.
Yeah. Daily. So let's talk about systems, right? How important is it for future directors to learn the business side, like licensing, staffing, enrollment, right? Because if you're in a room, you probably just know the classroom regulations, but you might not know all the other 2,000 regulations,
right?
Which I love. The teachers, I sometimes say to them, they're like, ratio. I went, you do know there's 999 more regulations besides ratio,
right?
But they know that one.
So anyone that knows me or has been following me for all these years, I've kind of got the nickname of, the Rain Man of standards and regulations. Mm-hmm. And it's not that I'm obsessed with standards and regulations and oversight, but in my experience, training and coaching and mentoring and doing observations, and, I work with a lot of schools that are have had significant events and they're on corrective action with licensing. Yeah. I have flipped a lot of schools in my time. It's actually kind of fun. I'm waiting for a TV network to reach out to me for a reality show, flipping preschools. I think that'd be fun. Yeah. But anyways, one thing that I just can't stress enough, your compliance history is everything. And you should always strive for a perfect compliance history. Mm-hmm. You and every single one of your employees should know and comply with the standards at all times. Mm-hmm. When I go into a program, whether it's they've had a significant event, whether they're not profitable and they're failing financially, whatever it may be, if I go into a program and they've got perfect compliance history, all right. Well, let me rephrase that. If I go into a program, when I go into a program and I see that you've got a compassionate, equitable school family where all of the teachers support each other and care for each other, and empathy is in place, I can almost guarantee you have perfect compliance history. They're financially stable, all right, and probably a waiting list. Okay. If I go into a program where there's a lot of backstabbing and gossiping and people are out to get each other, I can almost guarantee you've got classroom management issues, you've got aggressive children, they're struggling financially, and they have poor compliance history. Yeah. All right. But y'all, that compliance history, it's the center.
Yeah. And not just
it's the core.
Not even just for your program, for you as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to name the name, but there was a person I was talking to who's in the insurance industry, and she was talking about because that information is now public, insurance agencies are using that and they're looking at your compliance. And not only will the center maybe lose their insurance, you may not be able to get a job at another center if your name is on all of these non-compliances, right? You're considered a risk. So, it's really important. And I think some states, like you're from Texas, which has the ratios that I've never seen before. I'm in Rhode Island. Our ratios are very small.
Right.
So what is it? Share with me, what are the ratios for school age in Texas?
1 to 26.
1 to 26. So similar to kindergarten or public school, right? We're 1 to 13. We're literally half. So if you cannot, I'm just going to say from Rhode Island, if you cannot figure out how to have compliance with a 1 to 26 or a 1 to 50, come on.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of leeway there. And I think that's a lot. I mean, maybe that's part of some of the issues is 26 kids for one employee is a lot.
That's a lot. That's too many.
That's a lot. It is. That's not, I mean, I don't make the rules, but we know best practice that's a lot to give children the attention they deserve and the education they deserve.
And let me just say this, that is the minimum standard.
Yeah.
All right. We always want to encourage centers to run lower ratios. Now, if you're part of our quality rating system or if you're nationally accredited, then obviously you got lower ratios, but that is the minimum.
Yeah.
But, people ask me all the time because I do a lot of trainings on standards and regulations. Whenever licensing comes out, what is an acceptable number of deficiencies? And I'm like, 0.
None.
0.
None. I saw on Instagram the other day, somebody had did a post and they were like, I got 0 deficiencies. Yay. And they were very excited. Now, I'm just thinking to myself, that should be the standard. We shouldn't be celebrating 0 deficiencies.
Right.
That should be the norm, guys.
Yeah, we met the expectation.
Yeah, that's the expectation, right? That's the expectation. That's not above and beyond. That is the minimum.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
But I will say, because I deal with this a lot when I'm working with different schools, your people have to know and have access to the standards and regulations. Yeah. All right. I had this story about I was teaching CDA. This has been several years ago, and I was on the chapter on health, and I kept having all of these people say, oh, well, that doesn't apply to us. That doesn't apply to us. Our director said we don't have to do that. And I'm like, well, number one, this is a CDA class. It's about learning and growing and, expanding, right? But I'm like, we're on health. And a lot of the stuff that we're talking about is directly aligned with the child care minimum standards. You are required to do this stuff. Oh, no, our director said we don't have to do that. Our director said this doesn't apply to us. So I decided to do a whole night of CDA class where we just went through the health chapter of the minimum standards because I wanted them to see this is not optional. You have to do this stuff. Well, I emailed a copy of the child care minimum standards to my CDA participants before the class. I get this phone call from this director yelling at me, how dare you send my people a copy of that book? I do not want them to have a copy of that book. And I'm just like, whoa.
In our state, it's public.
In my state, too. They just go on the internet. They pull it up.
Yeah.
It's public knowledge. And I'm like, in 2 different places in our standards, it says that employees must know and comply.
Correct.
How do you expect them to know if they don't have access to the book? There are things in that book I don't want my people to know. And I'm like, red flag. There is some sketchy stuff going on in that school.
Yeah.
And I may have made a report on that one.
You might be required to. As a professional, right?
Right. But I was like, whoa. And when I say she was screaming at me, screaming with profanity that I had emailed her people a copy of the minimum standards. And I'm like, yeah.
So that's an example of not how to be a director.
Exactly. How not to be a director.
You're in charge of people. You're in charge of someone's center. You're in charge of children's lives. I mean, it's a big deal.
And, in my state, our standards are almost 300 pages long.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
That is
It's a whole lot. There is no way as a director you can keep your school completely in compliance all the time by yourself.
Yeah.
It takes a culture of accountability.
Yeah.
It takes everybody knowing what they're supposed to be doing and holding each other accountable. It is a team effort.
Yeah.
Everybody is responsible
You
for
mean the
knowing and
director's not
complying.
supposed to run around and put the electric plugs back in after the child and teacher back in the floor?
So I've had it in my policy manuals. Every single employee must know and comply with the standards and regulations. And then right underneath that, if an employee is aware of another employee that's not complying, it is their responsibility to report it to the director, because you got to hold each other accountable. But we need that because there's no way one person can make that happen.
Yeah. I will tell you the best way that I have found to get that buy-in has been through going through our state's quality rating system.
Right.
Or accreditation. We've done both, but I found that really allowed the entire team to really take a piece of it and really have a full understanding. So if you're a teacher who's been in a program that's went through quality rating and that they've incorporated everybody, you have a good understanding of what high quality should look like in a program. So I always felt like that was a great opportunity for teachers to pay attention and lead, especially those that wanted to kind of move up. Those are, we talk about starting with some little tasks first, right? And being responsible and meeting timelines and all those things. And I thought that was a great way to give some of our people some leadership. And that's high stakes. That's not like running circle time. That's high stakes. But you know what? If we want them to do big things, we got to give them big things to do.
Well, and it's about the process.
Yeah.
And focus on the process. Don't focus on the outcome. Focus on the process. And the process is an opportunity for you to learn. It's an opportunity for your school to grow. All right. And I love accreditations. I love certifications. Anything we can do to enhance the quality of our programs, I'm all about it. But trust the process.
Yeah.
And for new directors coming in, give it a year, because it's going to take a year for you to find your footing.
Yep.
Right. That first year of being a director is going to be a blur. You're going to hit your one year anniversary and you're like, what? Right. But
hopefully you're still there.
Yeah. You will still
Don't
be
give
there.
up, right? Don't give up.
But then, whether it's a statewide certification or if it's a national accreditation, go through the process. Don't rush it. Take your time and learn from the process. I think that when you're grooming a new director and you're growing a new director, those processes are the best way to do it.
Yeah, I agree. So as we start to wrap up, let me ask you, maybe what's one mistake that you made as a new director that you're grateful for now, and what did it teach you?
This is going to be broadcasted, so I have to filter myself. You are there to do a job, not to find relationships.
Okay.
You're there to be a leader, not a friend, a lover, or a spouse. All right. Now, I got 2 really amazing children out of it. But, and I'm so grateful for that. But, you're not in that position to find someone. All right. And with that being said, don't mix business with family.
Yeah.
All right. Hiring family, hiring friends. Okay. Just don't do it. I guarantee you, I promise you, it will blow up in your face every single time. There are policies on nepotism for a reason. All right. And whenever I first became a director, it was like, what family, what friends can I bring in? Started dating someone that worked for me, ended up marrying that person and having 2 kids, which again, I'm very grateful for. But looking back on it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, why was I so stupid? Well, right. So you got to be able to draw that line. And, I'm all about now. Okay. Now it took 38 years to get here. Work-life balance is so important. And you got to be able to draw that line of when you're at work and when you're at home. Yeah. And as early educators, we have a really bad habit of living and breathing our career.
You are preaching to the choir.
But we got to be able to draw that line. And when you have friends and family working together, there's no line.
Yeah.
And it's very stressful and it's very problematic, especially when you have to terminate a friend or a family member.
I've done it plenty.
Yep, I have too.
I've done it
All
plenty.
right.
It's not fun.
So keep your private life separate from your from your professional life.
Yeah.
I can't stress that enough. Even, of course, I have a ton of friends that work in this industry, and we vacation together, we go to conferences together. There were several here this week at this event. We've had to set boundaries of when do we talk about work and when do we stop talking about work.
Yeah.
All right. Set those boundaries and stick to them. Otherwise, all you do is talk about the school.
Yeah.
And especially if you have a spouse that does not work in the industry, that is hurtful to them. All right. And they end up not wanting to go on trips with you because all you're going to do is talk about work. So draw those lines, stick to them. Don't give parents your personal cell phone number. All right. If your school is open 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., then you work 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. But after 6:30, your phone goes off, your laptop closes. All right. And you have your personal time. That's healthy. All right. If there's an issue, if a parent needs to contact you or an employee needs to contact you, whatever issue it is, we'll be there Monday morning.
Yeah. Great advice. Great advice. All right. So
easier said than done.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So thank you so much for joining us today. Tell folks where they can find you, find out more about you.
Absolutely. TymTheTrainer.com, and my name is spelled with a Y. So it's TymTheTrainer. TymTheTrainer.com is my website. Follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram. I do have a YouTube channel also, Tym the Trainer. I'm all over the place. I get around, but I would love to meet all of you, would love to work with all of you. My favorite thing to do is to celebrate your success.
Yes, awesome.
So, yeah, let's connect.
All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the Childcare Director Share podcast. You know I love you. I know it was a little longer than we normally do, but thanks for sticking with us. Again, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Childcare Director's Chair, where we believe leaders aren't born, they're grown. If something sparked for you today, share it, shout it out, or pass it along to the next bold changemaker in childcare. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with Erica Saccoccio for more real talk leadership tools and a whole lot of inspiration. Until next time, lead with heart, grow with fire, and always remember, the chair is yours. Now own it.